thinking that worked for your parents isn't going to work for you.
Welcome to Hack Learning Uncut with your host, Mark Barnes, a man who's not afraid to say that grades lie, homework sucks, and traditional teachers should be suspended indefinitely. Now, strap yourself in, listen up, and let's hack learning.
Coming at you on a Friday afternoon. We like to call that Hacky Hour here at Hack Learning. It's a little bit different for us. We typically launch early in the week and sometimes on Wednesday nights or Thursdays, but we don't do Fridays. We're doing Friday for a very special reason in this Hack Learning Uncut, which means that people who subscribe to the podcast get it. We're not doing show notes. You won't find it anywhere unless someone shares a link to the podcast on Twitter. But if you're a subscriber, you get pinged, you get an alert, and you've got it. So the uncut version is for our subscribers. We value you. We appreciate you. I appreciate you listening. I get so many people tweeting, emailing, hitting me on Facebook, talking about the show, and I really, really value you. Someone just emailed me from Australia and talking about listening to the show and wanted to make sure that she could get booked. So I really appreciate that. So today we're going uncut, and we are on a Friday. So maybe you're on your drive home and you're getting this show. And we're doing this because it is book launch time. And I'm so excited about this. I'm always excited about book launches. When we do a new Hack Learning book. And the show, in large part, is based on Hack Learning books. But, we have guests on, and we have our ambassadors, people who like the whole idea behind hack learning, solving problems with simple solutions and hacks rather than the 5-year plan. We have them on sometimes as well. So we're loosely based on hack learning books. And when a new book comes out, I get very excited, and oftentimes I share content from the book, or sometimes I have the author on. But this time I decided I'm going to do a show, and we're just going to be very transparent. I'm going to say, hey, we're launching this book right now. So if you're hearing this on Friday, November 17th, 2017, then you're on launch day. And our official hard launch, where we'll really be hitting our audience, is tomorrow and Sunday. But for my Hack Learning podcast listeners, I thought, hey, why not put it out there right now, talk about it, share a little bit with you about the book, and go uncut, no editing, and and really celebrate the launch of a new book. And this one, they're all special, but this one's a little bit extra special because it's called Hacking Parenthood, 10 Mantras You Can Use Daily to Reduce the Stress of Parenting, by parenting author, expert, we are teachers, editor, educator, just all around extraordinary person, Kimberley Moran. And so I'm excited, as I always am, but maybe a little bit more this time, because this is a parenting book. Now, I think if you're listening and you're a teacher and you're not a parent, I think this book is still for you. I know you might say, Mark, that sounds like marketing. That's what that is, right? A little, maybe. I'll be honest, me, transparent. But, I really think that so much of Hacking Parenthood translates to the classroom. I was a teacher for a long time before I was a parent, and I feel like I got better as a teacher when I became a parent, because I think you just understand kids more, and you look through a different lens. But if I had some of the hacks in Hacking Parenthood, some of the mantras, and they're really not called hacks, they're called mantras. If I had these when I wasn't a parent, but I was a teacher, I think I would have been a better teacher. Let me give you an example. In Mantra 9 is called The World Really Is Different. And what Kimberley Moran says is, there's great pictures in the book and on the book cover of parents in the lotus position, and they look like they're meditating. And that's cool, I think, but this isn't really a meditation book. And when you hear mantra, I think we think that sometimes. But really, I think saying these helps. The world really is different. We have to remind ourselves of that when we're parents, but also as educators. the world really is different. In his chapter, Kimberley says that the problem is thinking what worked for your parents will work for you. I said that in the open. That's a problem because it doesn't. And same goes for teachers. If we're thinking old school, it doesn't work. And Kimberley starts this chapter. She says, in every generation, there are people who will say, back in our day, this never would have happened. I love that. And I say it all the time. I tell my kids that. They probably get tired of it. Back in my day, my day was a little bit too long ago. But really, what Kimberley is saying is if we think of this mantra, if we say the world is different now, we look at our kids through a different lens. Now, that'll work for a teacher, too. Because, I was old school for so long as a teacher. And I was always looking back and saying, back in my day. And I used to tell my students that. And I used to have that mentality, that sort of hard-nosed guy. And my way or the highway, I always say. And that worked back in my day. But, then it didn't work even a decade ago when I was a teacher, or 6 years ago when I was a teacher. And it really doesn't work now. So the old way does not work. And in Hacking Parenthood, 10 mantras you can use daily to reduce the stress of parenting, Kimberley gives us the mantra, the world really is different. It says, remind yourself of that as a parent and as a teacher. And she gives an example in this mantra in the book of something that is certainly not old school and something we face as educators and as parents all the time, the idea of managing the devices the right way, the screen time. It's a great quote in this chapter where Kimberley says, make devices work for your family, enriching your life and challenging you instead of overwhelming you. So let's take a look at what she says in this mantra and how she applies this to the world really is different. Kimberley writes, this may be a lesson you need to learn for yourself before you can teach it to your child. I am guilty of bringing my phone to bed despite my husband asking me not to. If I can't always shut out the incoming information, how is my child supposed to accomplish it? Information is fascinating and sparks our curiosity, but our brains also need time to process it. You aren't a colander that lets things flow quickly out. Instead, you're more like a cheesecloth. By this, I mean that you have the ability to filter out the big chunks of info you don't need. But you might need to push and prod the small, unimportant things to go away and stop clogging your brain. With this, the world really is different mantra, you will be teaching your child to set goals around gathering information on a device. He'll need to be able to discuss which part of his device time was spent mindlessly being entertained and which part was gathering neat info for a wonder session or for a class. In this way, people can start to take control of their devices instead of letting marketing control them. So you think about this, Kimberley not only gives us this really cool mantra and gets us thinking and reflecting on our practice as parents and as educators, but she applies this back to something relevant, something in our kids' world, and also gives us a lot of really neat strategies for being better at this and teaching kids to be better. I love the honesty that Kimberley Moran has in this book. And that piece I read you, there's so much like it in here. That sort of, she says, I don't know everything there is to know about parenting. And this is someone who writes about parenting all the time, someone who is an educator, someone who presents on this, regarded as an expert. She says, I don't know everything. I make mistakes. She's very honest. And I think that's something in this book you're going to really appreciate. So as with other Hack Learning books, there is a What You Can Do Tomorrow section in here, in all these chapters. So for this mantra, the world really is different. Here are some What You Can Do Tomorrow so you can take something away from this podcast. So Kimberley says, set a 2-hour time frame during waking hours when no device will be present. You might take mealtime, device free. I suggest making homework time social media free. The 2 hours might be broken up into half-hour increments. Do what works for you. But be sure that 2 hours of your life and your child's life are visibly device free each day. What a marvelous quick hitter, a quick what you can do tomorrow strategy. And even though this book is really aimed at parents, and I think it's still good for educators, we still have that what you can do tomorrow piece, even though it's a parenting book and not an education book, as most books in the Hack Learning series are. Here's another one for this mantra. She says, put your device in its spot. I love that. Agree to ground rules, such as devices must be on the front hall table or in a basket in the kitchen. Doesn't matter where they are, but having a spot to put them marks the device-free time. I love this one, and this is one I need to employ in my own home because we follow this mantra and we work very hard to manage our screen time. But this is one of the things I got from this book, that one of the strategies that I wasn't using. You know, the idea that we need to take them and put them somewhere. And I need to do it as well. Remember that part where she talked about taking her phone to bed? Yeah, I need to model that for my kids as well. And I think that's what Hacking Parenthood is all about. And of course, there's a blueprint for full implementation, as we have in other books, where Kimberley takes these What You Can Do Tomorrows and she builds them out into a plan that will help you implement a strategy over time. There's a hack in action. I think you're going to love, in fact, I know you're going to love Hacking Parenthood. And if you're a parent, whether you're a new parent or a longtime parent, there's so much in here for you. These mantras that get you thinking, you're repeating them like we do with mantras. And then once you've read the chapter on the mantra, you know how to apply it. And what's really great, in addition to all the powerful mantras in here for parents and for teachers, I think, is there's this marvelous resource in the back of the book called the Parent Resource Notebook. And what Kimberley has done is she's created this tool where she takes these mantras and she puts them on a paper, almost looks like a notebook, and says, here's what you might do with this mantra, and then gives you a blank page. So if you have the book, and you can literally write in this Parent Resource Notebook, and you know, you might not have the book, and maybe you won't have an opportunity to get it right away. I hope you do, but if you don't, one of the things I'd like for you to get from the podcast today, because I think you always should leave here with something, is the Parent Resource Notebook. We call it the PRN. You can download it if you want to, and you could have it on your device. You could type on it in a PDF. You could print it if you want to handwrite, which could be cool. And you can get this Parent Resource Notebook, which is inside Hacking Parenthood, but you can get the resource completely separate, the PRN, and all you have to do is go to hackingparenthood.org. And we're going to write that on the podcast description. If you have a device and you're looking at it, you should be able to click right into it. And that's it. And then you can get it. You can see what it looks like. You can see the samples from the mantras and how Kimberley uses this notebook. And she uses it. She talks about it in the book. She sometimes uses it on her phone. And it's a reflection tool. It's a way for parents to sort of pause, slow things down, look back, to think of the mantras in the book and say, am I using these right? To set goals for kids, to write down examples of things you're doing, how you might be applying the mantras. It's a really fabulous resource. And again, you can check that out at hackingparenthood.org. You can download it for free. I want you to have something. And I hope, if you get that first, I think you're going to say, wow, I have to have the book. And if you're a Hack Learning series fan, which I'm guessing you are if you're listening, I really hope that you will take a look at Hacking Parenthood. It's available on Amazon. It'll be in Barnes & Noble, maybe in your local library. It's out there. But you can check it out over on Amazon, and there's a direct link for you, parentmantras.com. So if you're just typing in a link, if you don't go over to Amazon and search, you can type in that link, parentmantras.com. It'll take you right to the book. I hope you'll check it out because I'm really proud of it. I know Kimberley is. It's a bit of a new lane for us in hack learning, but I'm really excited about it. I love the book as a parent. I love it as a teacher, and I think you will too.
Thanks for listening to Hack Learning Uncut with your host, Mark Barnes, an edu-hacker who says you don't need another 5-year plan. If you're crazy enough to want more, check out hacklearningpodcast.com and read a Hack Learning book today, will ya? The entire series is available at hacklearningbooks.com.